All right, let's talk about erythritol. You know the one? It's that super popular sugar substitute that completely took over the keto and zero sugar world. For a while there, it felt like the perfect, guilt-free way to enjoy something sweet. Until one study came along and flipped the whole script. Seriously, it's in everything from your favorite sparkling drink to those keto-friendly snacks. But then, in early 2023, a study published in the major journal Nature Medicine dropped what felt like an absolute bombshell, and suddenly everyone was asking if this stuff was actually safe. And this was the headline that sent shockwaves everywhere. The study found a link, an association between high levels of erythritol in people's blood and a higher risk for something called MACE. That's just the clinical term for the really scary stuff, major things like a heart attack or a stroke. So what on earth did they find? Okay, let's dig into the study itself to see what this alarming association was really all about and why it got so much attention. So the science team looked at data from a huge group of people. We're talking more than 4,000 patients across both the United States and Europe. But here's the really important part. These weren't just random healthy people. They were all specifically there for cardiac risk assessments. And the results looked pretty dramatic. They discovered that the people who had the highest levels of erythritol in their blood also had a much, much higher risk, in some cases more than double the risk, of having a major cardiac event over the next few years. Now, that sounds terrifying, for sure, but it brings us to a really crucial question in science. And this gets to the absolute heart of how we read science. When you see an association like this, what does it actually truly mean? You see, the thing is, this was an observational study. That means the researchers were just, well, observing. They were looking at data, but they weren't telling anyone what to do. And while these studies are great for spotting patterns, there is one golden rule you can never forget. They cannot prove that one thing causes another. Here's the classic example that makes it all make sense. In the summer, ice cream sales go way up. At the same time, tragically, so do drowning deaths. But does eating ice cream cause drowning? Of course not. There's a third factor, right? The hot weather is making people do both. That's what's called a confounding variable, and it is absolutely critical for understanding this whole erythritol story. So let's bring that idea back to the people in this study. As the FDA's own internal analysis pointed out, you can't really apply these findings to everybody because the subjects they looked at were already a high-risk group to begin with. And I mean, just look at the stats. The huge majority of these people already had things like high blood pressure or diabetes. These are massive independent risk factors for the very heart problems the study was tracking. So you have to ask, could something else be going on here? And this, right here, is where the story gets really interesting. It's a complete plot twist that totally reframes those initial scary headlines. I mean, the obvious thought is that these people must have been chugging tons of diet drinks and keto desserts, right? Well, it turns out the source of the erythritol is way more surprising than that. Okay, get ready for this, because this is the kicker. The FDA's review pointed out that the blood samples from the biggest group in the study were collected way back between 2001 and 2007. This was just after erythritol was approved, but before it was in everything. The food supply just wasn't flooded with it yet. So if they weren't eating it, where did all that erythritol come from? This reveals a fascinating and crucial fact. There are two sources of erythritol. There's the dietary kind that we eat in food, which pretty much just passes through our system. But, and this is the key, our own bodies can produce endogenous erythritol. And guess when our bodies ramp up production? When our metabolism is under stress, like for instance in people who have diabetes or heart disease. Okay, so now that we have all this new context, let's put all the pieces back together and see what the clearer picture really looks like. So, to sum it all up, the FDA's review basically said, look, association is not causation. The study looked at an already sick population, not healthy folks. And most importantly, the erythritol they measured was probably being made by the patient's own bodies because of their metabolic problems, not the other way around. And it's so important to weigh this one study against the entire body of evidence. We have decades of other kinds of studies, toxicological studies, that have consistently shown erythritol is safe. That's the whole reason it has that generally recognized as safe or GRAS status from the FDA in the first place. So this leaves us with a really powerful final thought. What if high erythritol in the blood isn't a warning sign about the food we're eating, but instead it's a warning from our own bodies, a kind of biomarker, a check engine light, telling us that something is going wrong with our metabolism? It's a powerful reminder to always look for the context behind the headline.